Last week, the Oxford High School shooting in Oakland County, Michigan, highlighted the increased urgency to push for passage of common sense gun safety measures. The police involved in this case say that the shooter used a gun that he got out of his parents' nightstand, unsecured. This unsecured handgun led to the deaths of 4 young people and wounded 7 others. This tragedy, like the countless others that we've endured over many, many years, was avoidable, and we can start here at the local level by passing secure gun storage policies immediately. I want to introduce Gilbania Mcdowell. She grew up in the hostess city of Savannah, Georgia. On April 7th, 2016, Gilbania's 14-year-old son, Jejuan, was unintentionally shot and killed by a teen playing with an unsecured firearm while visiting family for spring break. She is turning her pain into power by elevating her voice as a gun violence survivor. She's an active volunteer with Moms Demand Action, who are here with us today, and part of the Everytown Survivor Network. She advocates for secure firearm storage and laws that promote it. I'd like to welcome up Gilbania.
Morning. Good morning. So I'm going to start with my story. On April the 7th, 2016, my 14-year-old son, Juwan, was unintentionally shot and killed by another teen playing with an unsecured firearm while visiting family in our hometown of Savannah, Georgia, for spring break. It left a gaping hole in my heart that asphalt cannot fill. As the holidays draw near, it's very, very important that gun owners and non-gun owners alike take the time to secure your firearms. As Christmas comes near, we'll put a picture at a seat that Juwan will not be able to sit at. There's been years that have passed, but that pain still follows me every single day. I live with that burden every single day, that burden of grief. Juwan was getting ready to enter his freshman year of high school. He didn't get that opportunity. He didn't get the opportunity to go on the first date. He didn't get the opportunity to attend his junior or senior prom. He didn't get the opportunity to walk across the stage, the class of 2020, with his graduating class of high school. He won't get the opportunity to attend college. As a parent, I didn't get the opportunity to experience those milestones with my son. An unsecured firearm altered my life forever. I'm standing with advocates calling for change. Far too many children's lives are cut short by unintentional shootings every year. But these instances of violence, deaths, and injuries are 100% preventable. You hear that saying, Houston, we have a problem. Well, America, we have a problem. We cannot normalize gun violence. We have to talk about gun safety and secure storage. We can all do our part to prevent more kids from gaining access to guns and lessen the burden of injuries and violence on children. One of the biggest challenges in addressing the burden of unintentional shootings is the rise of gun violence and the increased gun sales. Almost every single day, a child gets their hands on a gun and unintentionally kills themselves or injures someone else. So often we think that it's not my problem. Well, it can be your gun or it can be your child. And we have to make sure that we're doing what we can as advocates for secure storage, making sure we're doing our due diligence to prevent this from happening so that another parent, another sibling, another family don't have to endure this pain. As the holidays draw near for Christmas, every year I put my ear against the door while the door is closed, yearning to hear my son's voice, yearning to hear his steps, yearning just to feel and touch and hear another I love you. I'll never get that. And that's why it's important here today that we do our due diligence to make sure that we pass this law with secure storage. And now I present to you Senator Elena Parent.
Thank you, Gilbania, and good morning. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. I am State Senator Elena Parent, proud to represent the 42nd Senate District right here in Decatur and DeKalb County, Georgia. The recent mass shooting in Michigan, yet again, shone a spotlight on the human cost of America's fixation on guns. In no other country do mass shootings, on top of everyday gun violence, occur on a daily basis. And in no other country do elected officials not only refuse to take action, but refuse to even admit that gun violence is a problem. Today, as we mourn the 4 lives lost at Oxford High School, we must talk about the damage that is done when unsecured deadly weapons fall into the hands of children. During my time in the state Senate, I have proposed safe storage legislation. In 2016, the year that Jawan was killed, I filed Senate Bill 303, which would have required that a gun lock be given by a gun dealer to a customer in any firearms sale in the state. Earlier this year, I filed SB 146, which would allow for the owner of a gun to be charged if a minor gains access to a gun that the owner failed to secure or left in a place where a child could gain access, with harsher penalties if the child discharges the firearm and causes death or serious injury. That particular piece of legislation is modeled on Texas law. Texas, a red state, safer storage laws than Georgia has. Every day, children gain access to weapons, most often weapons in their own home, just as Ethan Crumley did in Oxford, Michigan. And every day, just like in Oxford, children and adults alike are injured or killed because of it. Children as young as 2, as old as 17, have shot their siblings, their friends, their parents, neighbors, classmates, and thousands of times themselves. Last year in Georgia alone, there were 22 firearm accidents involving children, 11 of which were fatal. These accidents are not merely a statistic. They represent human lives, lives destroyed, like Gilbania and Jawan. All but one of those involved the death or injury of a child. The one exception last year was a 2-year-old who accidentally shot and killed his 28-year-old father. Georgia has the 3rd highest number of such accidents in 2020. Between January 1 and May 18th, 2018, 31 students and teachers were killed inside United States schools. That exceeds the number of U.S. military service members who died in combat and non-combat roles during the same period. If we fail to act, unsecured firearms in the hands of children will continue to wreak havoc on families, communities, and our kids. My legislation has been blocked by Republicans at the General Assembly and the gun lobby. And until we have different leadership at the state level, I'm thrilled to partner with my friends and colleagues at the local level to strengthen our laws to address those who would be careless with deadly weapons around children. And at this time, I'm eager to bring forward Jason Estevez, the longtime Atlanta Public Schools Board of Education Chair. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Senator Parent. When our leaders at the government, at the state level, fail to act, it is incumbent on us to work with state senators, state legislators who actually want to get policy in place, and at the local level, do what we can to protect our families and to eliminate the possibility of stories like the one we just heard from Ms. McDowell. And I want to, it breaks my heart to hear stories like that, and there are too many stories like that happening each and every day because our leaders, whether it's at the federal, state, and local level, are not acting. At Atlanta Public Schools, we've taken pride in the fact that when we need to act on behalf of our families, we do so. And in light of the events of last week in Michigan, we decided to act because what happened in Michigan is happening all across the country. But we've also seen an increase in gun incidents across the city. I get emails each and every day with incidents that occur, whether it's at APS or around the city, just detailing what's happening in our communities. And I can tell you that since this pandemic started, gun violence, incidents of parents, children having guns have increased significantly. And what that means is that as a school board, while we can't pass gun legislation, we can certainly do what we can to ensure that our parents and our community members know their responsibilities to be responsible gun owners. So what we did last night with the unanimous vote of the school board was to pass a resolution modeled after language in partnership with Everytown and Appreciate Moms Demand Action, pass the resolution that requires the school board and the superintendent to work with organizations, work with our families, work with the city of Atlanta to communicate and educate our stakeholders on the great responsibility that is needed for safe storage of deadly weapons. We believe that that will reduce the number of incidents that happen in the city, not only as it relates to our children, but also crime. That's a piece that often doesn't get talked about in the conversation, but so many weapons are stolen when they're not secured, whether at home, in cars, and then they're used to commit crime later on. And as we know, crime has increased over the past year and a half as well. So we need to do all that we can to make sure that we are keeping our kids, we're keeping our families safe. And at Atlanta Public Schools, I am proud of the fact that this board took a step that very few school boards across the country have taken to call out this problem and to try to do something about it. And I look forward to doing that in partnership with the city. So I want to make sure that I bring up together City Council President-elect Doug Shipman and City Council Member District 5-elect Liliana Bakhtari.
I'm Liliana Bakhtiari, in case you didn't figure that out between the two of us. But I wanted to first say thank you to Commissioner Terry for inviting us here, and to everyone else for being here. I'm thrilled to be standing here alongside so many advocates in our local community who recognize the urgency of local action to counteract gun violence in our community. In recent months, we have seen an uptick in violence right here at home. Just recently in my own district, 2 fathers got into a fight in one of our public parks on Easter Sunday with children around and resorted immediately to gun violence. Then weeks later, there was also an incident in a carpool line at one of our elementary schools in district. Furthermore, we have seen our service industry workers threatened with gun violence, and some have lost their lives, like a member of my own community, Miriam Abdullah. I think it is very important that as we frame this legislation, and I look forward to working on that with other local officials here before you, that we consider the implications. There's an epidemic of gun violence in our country, as you've heard many times today, as we see every day on the news, and it affects many of our vulnerable populations. It affects our children, it affects our trans populations, our women, especially those who have experienced domestic violence. And so as we look to frame this legislation, I hope that we can also continue to shape it to prevent individuals who have committed acts of domestic violence from obtaining weapons by ensuring that those ordered by courts are unable to gain access to weapons. By securing legal weapons in our homes and vehicles, we can ensure, at least most of the time, that those who should not have their hands on active firearms will not have that opportunity. This is just one step, but an important one. We live in a country where we have more guns than people. These are not radical asks. This is common sense gun legislation. This should not be a partisan issue. This should not be framed as a radical question. We are raising our children in a world and people in a world where we are telling them that guns are more important than their lives. We no longer have, I grew up during Columbine. I grew up doing drills around tornado warnings. But yet today we have children that are taking the responsibility for our inaction by having to be raised in a world where they go through shooter trainings constantly. We have put it upon our children to take responsibility for our inaction. So, as I said, I am proud to be here today. I am proud to no longer be waiting, but to do everything in our power to take action. I am proud to stand here along with Commissioner Terry and the other elected officials and colleagues and advocates before you today in support of this one very small step in the right direction. And I know that I also speak in favor of at-large post District 3, Keisha Waits, who's coming in, as well as many other council members who cannot be here today. So thank you all.
Thank you. I am Doug Shipman, the President-elect of Atlanta City Council, and I appreciate the remarks of my incoming colleague. I just want to say that we came through a recent election, and on doorsteps and in forums and in small groups, people talked a lot about wanting new solutions to address our public safety issues. They would ask me about how we could do something about the proliferation of guns, about gun violence. That question came up very often during this campaign. And I am very excited to see that across various colleagues, from county to school system to city, that we are trying to address what voters have immediately said in this past election, which is find solutions, find things that are new, find things that can work. And I would also say that as a father of a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, it is on my mind every time that they go on a play date at someone else's home, whether or not that home is going to be safe. And safe storage would certainly be, if it was prolific and we knew that it was happening, would certainly give me as a parent peace of mind that my kids would come home. And I am just heartbroken to hear the stories of kids who do not come home. And so I think that this is a day that is about collaboration and is about solutions, and I look forward to working on them with all of my colleagues. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Khalid. I am the mayor-elect of Atlanta's new Twin Cities, South Fulton, Georgia. I want to thank Commissioner Ted for once again leading the region in progressive solutions. You all have heard all of the statistics, but I do just want to keep us focused on the idea that the people that are dying, that the children that are dying are real, real persons. Last year, I received as a council person a message about a 6-year-old who had been shot, and on the scene were his 8-year-old and 4-year-old siblings. If you've ever had to arrive to a scene like that and watch a parent arrive to a scene like that and learn what has happened to their children because we didn't do simple things, then you know how important this issue is. And if you have never arrived at a scene like that, I encourage you to talk to the police officers in your city, because they will tell you how important this issue is. There's been a lot of divisiveness in our country and in our city since 2020 and 2021 and these elections that we've had. There is currently all of this agita around the rights or the protection of children in wombs or the unborn children. I want us to spend as much time and attention and energy and effort making sure that we are protecting the children who are here now. And with that, I will be introducing in January, once I take the mayoralty of the city of South Fulton, we will be introducing similar legislation. So I will be happy to join these other municipalities and school systems and districts in this great action. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And we're going to have to wrap up here in just a minute. But just in closing, our Board of Commission meeting is going to start here in just a few minutes. I'll be introducing this legislation. The draft has been shared with everyone in the media advisory. It will be referred to our Public Safety Committee for discussion in the beginning of the year. As you've heard, these local leaders are taking action, whether at the state level, at the school board level, at the local city level. I've spoken with county commissioners and local leaders in Columbus, Macon, Savannah, Chatham, Athens, here in Clayton, Cobb, Gwinnett, Newton, Rockdale, all leaders who are interested in taking action in the absence of action at the state and federal level. We have to do more. We know whether it is the millions of children that are at risk from accessing unsecured firearms, or the hundreds of thousands of guns that are stolen out of vehicles every year that are funneled into the black market, that are used in violent crimes. This is an opportunity for us to not only save children's lives at home, to reduce gun violence, but also to reduce school shootings. This is a policy that works. We have to do it across the country. But again, we're not waiting. We're not waiting. We're not waiting. We're taking action now. There might be legal challenges ahead, but that's okay. That's the whole point of the legal system. It has to have that debate. And so we'll have that debate. But today, we have local leaders here in Metro Atlanta and across Georgia that are standing up and taking action. Thank you, everyone. And if anyone wants to interview any of our speakers, we can just head on out to the little portico there, and y'all have a good rest of your day. Thank you.